Raj is a budding entrepreneur from India and he's working on an insane business idea. He created an app that helps Gen Z filter the brain rot content on Instagram and find credible news with minimum distractions. The idea was so good that Raj immediately fell in love with his own venture. He used up all of his savings and even borrowed some money to help scale this business. And guess what? He succeeded. He was able to see a little bit of revenue from ads. His customers were very happy because they were able to use social media better with lesser distractions. And to top it all off, he turned a small profit. But that was the problem. The profit wasn't enough to help scale the business. That's when Raj realized, well, I could go to Shark Tank. Isn't Shark Tank that place that rewards innovation? After all, his product was great, it was scalable, it solved a major problem, and on top of that, he was profitable. But the moment Raj reached the set of Shark Tank India, he realized something shocking. He was absolutely demolished by the sharks because he did not have enough profits, or his story wasn't sad enough that the sharks would get positive PR by funding his venture. Now, obviously, for legal reasons, Raj is a fictional character, but this is the story of many entrepreneurs that visit Shark Tank India. You'll see many talented entrepreneurs with little to no profits, but great businesses get destroyed by these sharks while being fully blind to the reality that 8 out of 15 sharks featured on Shark Tank India haven't turned a single penny in profits in their own business ventures. To the extent that one of the newest sharks in season 4 of Shark Tank India, Kunal Bahl, hasn't turned a single penny in profit in his venture Snapdeal, which has been running for the past 15 years. Contrast this with Shark Tank US, where Mark Cuban, one of the biggest sharks in the tank, has successfully run multiple businesses and is worth $6 billion. Then there's Kevin O'Leary, a questionable human being, but he sold his software business for $4.2 billion. Laurie Greiner, on the other hand, an inventor and entrepreneur, has more than 104 granted patents. And these fundamental differences between the businesses run by the sharks in the US compared to the ones run by the sharks in India lead to a very short-term vision. A vision that rewards everything except for the most crucial qualities of a startup: innovation and disruption. Okay, let's be real. Someone has to say this. Shark Tank India absolutely sucks because it's a daily soap that rewards stories rather than innovation and disruption. But wait, what I said just now is a claim, and you're not here for claims, you're here for data. So let me use some data and patterns to prove what I just said. As much as the producers of the sharks in India deny it, Shark Tank India is scripted to a great extent. I mean, look at the conversations that our country has around Shark Tank India. The reels and YouTube shorts that we see on Shark Tank India's YouTube channel aren't about how a great business got funded or a business came out with some groundbreaking innovation. They are about how two sharks got into a fight or how one shark asked the entrepreneur whether the entrepreneur thinks he was an idiot.
इससे वाहियात प्रोडक्ट मैंने जिंदगी में ना देखा है ना मैं देखना चाहता हूँ. मेरे को भगवान उठा ले, इतना गंदा प्रोडक्ट है. इसके बाद मैं कुछ नहीं देखना चाहता लाइफ में.
Now, frankly, India is a country where reality shows work only if there is rampant sensationalization and drama, like Big Boss or Roadies. So in order to make the most of your television audience and pump up your ratings, there are going to be elements of scripting, but that's not what I have a problem with. I am okay with Shark Tank India being a scripted daily soap where the founders are dilly-dallying and fooling around as long as there are sensible investments that foster innovation and disruption. You'll notice that I've used these two words, innovation and disruption, over and over again, and that's primarily the problem with Shark Tank India, and let me prove it with a bunch of data. If you look at Shark Tank US, you would notice that there are many innovative tech startups that feature on the platform and then see incredible outcomes. For example, Ring, a smart doorbell that improved home security, got acquired by Amazon for $1 billion. The founder of Ring said that Shark Tank was an incredible breakthrough for him. In fact, he even came on Shark Tank as one of the sharks in the later seasons.
Being on Shark Tank, airing on Shark Tank, got us such awareness nationally that it actually really kind of saved the business. So even though we didn't get a deal, in the end, actually being on the show is probably one of the biggest things that happened for the company. So I thank those sharks every single day for what they did for us, and I really appreciate they did it as a volunteer job and didn't take any money.
Then there was Scrub Daddy, an innocent looking sponge that you would use to do your dishes, was actually backed by patented technology that would change texture depending on the temperature of the water that would help you clean dishes more effectively. Lorry invested in this business and it's now worth $250 million. Then there was Luminade, a company that made inflatable lights that are now used in disaster relief management. If you watch multiple episodes of Shark Tank US, you would notice that only the businesses that were creating something new or the ones that had a distinct competitive advantage were the ones getting funding. This created incentive for entrepreneurs to create something new that could improve society at large. But the Indian counterpart of Shark Tank is purely focused on financing ventures that are either in the business of branding a generic product or undercutting the entire competition by selling a product for cheaper. Instead of focusing on disruptive and innovative, the show focuses on cheap and emotional. For example, a company called Skippy Ice Pops got funded purely out of nostalgic value. After all, they're just selling frozen sugar. Another company called Tag Chips got funded because they were selling popped chips instead of fried chips. At the end of the day, it was a generic product, chips. There was another company called Revamp Moto that was in the business of selling electric bikes to people. There was absolutely nothing new about those bikes except for the fact that they were more affordable. Another company called Sunfox Spandan created ECG devices. Absolutely zero innovation, just the fact that the devices were more affordable. Instead of rewarding innovation, Shark Tank India rewards the immediate short-term business success that comes with creating a cheaper version of an existing product so that it could be consumed by a mass market audience. Now, compare this with Shark Tank US. A company called Breathometer created a device that could act like a portable breathalyzer and tell you the percentage of alcohol in your body using just that device and your smartphone. And what's even more crazy is that later this company pivoted into disease detection. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying funding businesses with affordability as a focus is a bad thing. India is an extremely poor country and the people living in bubbles in tier 1 cities may not know about this. Making certain products and experiences accessible to everyone in India is the need of the hour, but isn't focusing on innovation the whole point of Shark Tank? Or was it always supposed to be a scripted mess that only focuses on the short term? But anyway, there is one more very unique thing that is only rewarded in Shark Tank India that I haven't told you about yet: emotion and sob stories. Before we break that down, if you learned something new up until this point, please consider leaving a like as that helps with the algorithm, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as that helps us stay motivated and bring you more such content. Back in season 2, two women from the state of Bihar, which by the way is one of the poorest states in India, came up with a business that got funding on Shark Tank India. Their business was absolutely revolutionary and they were creating something insanely innovative. They sold pickles. Now, selling pickles is absolutely not a bad thing. It's a great business if you want a livelihood from it, but pickles as a business have limited scalability. In fact, the pickle industry in India is just worth $600 million. But that's the thing. Everyone, including the sharks, knew how poor and neglected Bihar was, so the goodwill that would come from doing this deal was nothing short of fantastic. Not only did this business get past the initial screening of Shark Tank India, they got funded by two sharks. After all, who wouldn't want great PR? Now, if you still think I'm not making any sense, contrast this to a random pickle business trying to seek funding from someone who's not on TV in front of cameras. They would have been told a bunch of things. Number one, pickles are a small market in India, just $600 million, and they're poised to grow to $900 million over the next 6 to 7 years. This is not incredible levels of growth by any means. They would also be told that not only are pickles very difficult to scale in India, the market is dominated by corporations like Mother's Recipe that did revenue of $36 million or Nilons that has a net worth of nearly $14 million. Let's say there's a small business that comes up with a disruption in AI or creates a new form of technology. It's very easy for such a business to compete with the heavyweights if they have funding. But you can't say the same for something like pickles, right? But you know what happened on Shark Tank India? Instead of being asked relevant questions about the business, these women were asked all. The sharks straight up engaged in banter with them. They asked them questions like, "Oh, so your co-founder is your sister-in-law? Don't you guys have fights? So cute." The word technological advancement means Absolutely nothing on that set. There was another company that got funding on Shark Tank India called Ghar Soap. They had absolutely no differentiation or scientific advantage. They just manufactured soaps. In fact, the founder of Kar Dekho, Amit Jain, another shark on Shark Tank India, asked the founders that what exactly prompted you to start the business? What was lacking in the soap market that you started this particular business? The two founders tried to dodge these questions, and that was when the sharks discovered that this was nothing more than a white labeled venture.
प्रोडक्ट के ऊपर थोड़ा डेप्थ दो ना, मेरे को अभी तक मिल ही नहीं रहा है कि आपने प्रोडक्ट बनाने में क्या रिसर्च करी है, कैसे बना है.
हमें साइंस तो नहीं पता कि कैसे बनता है, पर मेरे को पता क्या चाहिए.
Ghar Soap was just sourcing the soaps from someone else and selling them with their own branding. And guess what happened? They got funding from not one but two sharks, purely because they spoke about their personal struggles and how they had to be emotionally resilient through their journey. If you watch multiple episodes of the US and Indian version of Shark Tank, you would notice that the Indian version is far more oriented towards small businesses and emotions. And that's not even the worst part. Most of the sharks on Shark Tank India have questionable track records when it comes to running a business, barring a few. 53% of the sharks featured over the 4 seasons of Shark Tank India haven't turned a single rupee in net profit. Of the ones that did manage to turn a profit, one of them has a company that has been running for more than 17 years and they still had to raise nearly 8,500 crores or $1 billion in 2024. Seriously, how do you not have cash flow to expand after 17 years of running a business? Now, I am obviously no expert to be commenting on how these sharks run their business, but there was a very interesting quote by Prashant Pitti that I read in a book called Startup to Proficon. Prashant Pitti, by the way, is the founder of Ease My Trip, a profitable $1 billion Indian company that was built from scratch without raising any external capital. Prashant sir says that if after 15 years of operating, if you still need to raise capital, well then that's not an achievement. You've just been a lousy entrepreneur. And while I may not know a lot about business, I do know one thing. Isn't profit the whole point of it? There's another shark that never started a company from scratch, but they took over their parents' company that had been operating for more than 27 years and had an established presence in India as well as the US. So every time that I watch the absolute mess that Shark Tank India is, it just prompts me to ask two very important questions. Number one, what exactly is Shark Tank India rewarding? And number two, in the grand scheme of things, are the benchmarks set for the participants even appropriate? The hunt for better television ratings and milking your audience has just led to Shark Tank India becoming Fish Tank India. But that's just me. What do you think? Are we on the right track with this show? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you learned something new, consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel.